"Excuse me, you dropped this." The voice came from behind Diana Blake as she sat in the wheelchair, staring at the city park fountain, lost in thought. She turned, and her breath caught. A man stood there, holding her phone, his warm brown eyes meeting hers with genuine concern. Then his gaze dropped to the wheelchair, and something shifted in his expression. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Diana's mind raced. She should tell him the truth. She should stand up, take her phone, explain she just sat down in this abandoned wheelchair on impulse, exhausted and broken after another soul-crushing board meeting. But something in his eyes stopped her. Not pity, not awkwardness, just pure human compassion. And before she could stop herself, the lie tumbled out. I can't walk, not since the accident." The man's face didn't change to pity. It softened with understanding, with kindness, and Diana felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. This was wrong. She was lying. This would end badly. But God, the way he looked at her, like she mattered, like she was a person worth seeing, made her want to keep pretending just a little longer. Neither of them knew that this lie would become the most honest thing in her life. Before we continue, comment below where you're watching from. Now let's see how a desperate moment became a beautiful deception. Diana Blake was 32 years old and one of the most powerful women in tech. She was the CEO of Blake Industries, a company she'd built from a garage startup into a $2 billion empire in just 7 years. Her father Richard had died 3 years ago, leaving her everything: his company, his legacy, the crushing weight of expectations she'd spent every day trying to meet. She'd succeeded beyond anyone's imagination, but success had cost her something she was only now realizing she'd lost: the ability to be seen as just Diana. Since her father's death, she'd dated dozens of men. Every single one had wanted her money, her status, her connections. The last one, Connor, had been her vice president. He'd proposed with a massive ring and sweet words, and she'd almost said yes. Then, she discovered, he'd been embezzling from her company for months, planning to leverage their marriage to steal everything. When she refused to marry him, he tried a hostile takeover. She crushed him professionally, but it crushed something in her too: her ability to believe in genuine love. Tonight, she'd sat through another board meeting where men twice her age questioned every decision, where her success was never quite enough, where she performed perfection until she was exhausted. She'd driven to the park just to breathe, to be alone, to escape. And there, by a bench, was a wheelchair someone had forgotten. Diana had stared at it, and a wild thought crossed her mind. What if someone saw me as just Diana? Not CEO Diana, not billion-dollar Diana, just me. She'd sat in it, not planning anything, just sitting, wondering what it would be like to be invisible to ambition, to greed, to the endless performance of power. And then that man approached with her phone, and the lie happened before she could think. The man was Ethan Morris, 34 years old, a physical therapist at a community rehabilitation center, and genuinely one of the kindest people Diana would ever meet, though she didn't know that yet. Ethan had been raised by a single mother who became paralyzed when he was 12 after a devastating car accident. He'd watched his mother navigate a world that suddenly saw her differently, treated her as less than, and it had shaped everything about who he became. He'd dedicated his life to helping people with disabilities reclaim their independence and dignity. His mother, Margaret, had died 2 years ago from complications, and Ethan was still grieving, channeling that pain into making sure no one in his care ever felt alone in their struggle. He'd never married, dated casually but never seriously. Tonight, he was walking through the park after a long shift when he saw a beautiful woman drop her phone and sit in a wheelchair, and something in her expression made him want to help. Ethan handed Diana her phone. "Car accident," she said quickly, her heart pounding. 6 months ago. She watched his eyes for the change, the shift to pity or discomfort, but it never came. Just compassion, just humanity. "I'm a physical therapist," he said gently. "Are you getting proper care?" Diana, digging herself deeper into the lie, nodded. I am, but it's been hard. Ethan didn't crouch down to her level like so many people do to wheelchair users, making them feel like children. He sat on the bench beside her, eye to eye, treating her as an equal, and they started talking. About the park, about the city, about life. The conversation flowed so easily it scared her. Diana felt seen, really seen, as a person, not a position. And Ethan saw a beautiful, strong woman who was navigating challenges with grace, not someone defined by disability. An hour passed like minutes. The park lights came on. Ethan finally stood. I should let you get home, but could I see you again? Diana knew she should confess right then, should tell him the truth, apologize, explain. But the word yes came out before she could stop it. Ethan smiled, and it transformed his whole face. What's your name? Diana's heart raced. Anna, she lied again, each deception pulling her deeper. Anna, Ethan repeated it softly. Anna. Beautiful name for a beautiful person. Diana felt guilt and hope warring in her chest. She told herself it would just be one date, just one. Then she'd tell him everything, then she'd confess and walk away. But as she watched him walk away, turning back to wave with that genuine smile, Diana Blake knew she was lying to herself about more than just her name. If this story is making you think about honesty, identity, and what we hide to be loved, subscribe to Love is Kindness for stories that challenge us to be real. Now let's see how far this beautiful lie will go before the truth destroys everything. The next 2 weeks were the happiest and most guilt-ridden of Diana's life. She and Ethan dated regularly, and she continued the wheelchair charade with growing dread. She rented a wheelchair, kept it at her best friend Sophie's house, changed there before every date. Sophie was horrified. This is insane, Diana. You have to tell him. Diana's voice broke. I just want someone to love me, not my company. Just once. I want to be chosen for who I am, not what I have. Ethan never treated her as less than. He took her to accessible restaurants and museums, researching each place carefully. He pushed her wheelchair without making her feel helpless, always asking permission, always respecting her autonomy. He talked to her face, never over her head to waiters or strangers. And with every act of genuine kindness, Diana fell deeper in love, even as the guilt ate her alive. Ethan told his coworker Jake about Anna over lunch at the rehab center. She's incredible, man. Strong, funny, doesn't let anything stop her. She sees the world differently, and it's beautiful. Jake studied his friend's face. You sound serious. Ethan smiled. I think I'm in love. I'm going to tell her soon. Jake raised his eyebrows. And the wheelchair? Ethan's expression was firm. Doesn't matter. I love who she is, not whether she can walk. 2 weeks in, Ethan invited Diana to his apartment for dinner. She was terrified. How could she maintain the lie in his personal space? But she agreed, because she was in love. Desperately, completely in love. The evening was beautiful and devastating. They cooked together, Ethan accommodating her seated position naturally, moving around the kitchen with practiced ease. He told her about his mother, about watching her navigate the world, about how it shaped him. Diana's guilt grew with every word. Then he kissed her. And it was deep, passionate, real. Everything Diana had been searching for. Both of them knew in that moment this was it. This was the person they'd been waiting for. When Ethan pulled back, his eyes were full of emotion. I'm falling in love with you, Anna. Diana's heart shattered. I'm falling in love with you too. That night Diana couldn't sleep. Guilt consumed her. She knew she had to tell him the truth. She was terrified he'd hate her. But worse, she was terrified he'd think she was mocking people with disabilities, or that she'd been testing him cruelly, using his compassion as some sick experiment. She decided tomorrow. Tomorrow she'd tell him everything and face whatever consequences came. But the universe had different plans. The next day, Diana was at Blake Industries headquarters, standing in her corner office, pacing as she talked on the phone about an emergency board meeting. A competitor was attempting a hostile takeover, and she was in full CEO mode, commanding, powerful, walking back and forth in her designer heels and power suit. She didn't notice Ethan in the lobby downstairs. He'd tracked her down through her phone records, wanting to surprise Anna at her work. The receptionist had pointed to the executive floor, mentioning Diana Blake's office. Ethan, confused but curious, had taken the elevator up, and there, through the glass walls of the corner office, he saw her, standing, pacing, commanding an entire boardroom with the authority of someone who'd never needed a wheelchair in her life. His face drained of color, shock, betrayal, devastation. He watched for another moment, making sure his eyes weren't deceiving him, then turned and walked out before she could see him. His hands were shaking. His mother's face flashed through his mind. The real struggles, the real pain, and this woman had pretended. That evening Diana called Ethan. No answer. She called again. Nothing. Worry gnawed at her. Something felt wrong. She went to his apartment in the wheelchair, her heart pounding, planning to finally confess everything. But when Ethan opened the door, his face was cold, a stranger's face. "You can stop pretending now, Diana Blake. Or should I say, Anna? Or should I ask which name is the real lie?" Diana felt the ground disappear beneath her. "Ethan, please let me explain." Ethan's voice was ice. "Explain what? That you faked being paralyzed? That you lied about everything? That you played games with something real people struggle with every single day?" Diana's voice was desperate. "Not everything. My feelings were real. Every moment with you was real." Ethan's voice broke. "My mother was paralyzed, Diana. She died struggling every day to do things you take for granted. And you played dress up with her reality? You used a wheelchair like it was a costume?" Diana started crying, the tears she'd been holding back for 2 weeks finally breaking free. I know how wrong it was. I know there's no excuse," she explained through sobs. "The men who only wanted her money, Connor's betrayal and attempted theft. The crushing loneliness of being seen as a bank account instead of a person. I just wanted someone to see me. Just Diana, not the CEO, not the billionaire, just me. And you did. You treated me like I mattered. Like I was enough just as I was." Ethan's voice was cold, protective walls slamming down. "So you tested me? Used my compassion, my life's work, my mother's memory as some kind of game?" Diana shook her head violently. "No, it wasn't planned. It started as an impulse, a moment of desperate loneliness. Then I met you, and you were everything I'd been searching for, and I fell in love. I knew I should tell you, but I was terrified. I couldn't find the words." Ethan's words cut like knives. "You found 100 ways to lie. You couldn't find one way to be honest?" And he closed the door in her face, the sound of it slamming echoing in the empty hallway like the end of everything beautiful Diana had ever known. Diana was devastated. Sophie found her on the floor of her penthouse, still in the wheelchair she'd worn to Ethan's apartment, sobbing like her heart had been ripped out. "I told you this would end badly," Sophie said gently, sitting beside her friend. Diana looked up, her face destroyed. "I love him. I really love him, Sophie. And I ruined it. I ruined everything." Sophie took her hand. "Then fight for him. Show him the truth of who you are." Diana shook her head. "He'll never forgive me. What I did was unforgivable." Sophie's voice was firm. "Maybe not, but he deserves to know the real you. The woman who fell in love with him. Not the performance, not the lie, the truth." Across town, Ethan was telling Jake what happened. "That's messed up, man," Jake said carefully. Ethan's voice was raw. "The worst part? I still love her. Everything we shared felt real. Her laugh, her thoughts, the way she saw the world. But how can I trust anything now?" Jake studied his friend. "Did she treat you badly? Use you financially? Ask for anything?" Ethan shook his head. "No. She was kind, genuine, thoughtful. She listened to my stories about my mom without flinching. She cared. Jake's voice was quiet. Then maybe her feelings were the only real thing. Maybe everything else was the lie, but what she felt for you was true. A week later, Diana did something that shocked the business world. She called a press conference. Standing at a podium, facing cameras and reporters, she announced she was taking a leave of absence from Blake Industries. "I've spent 7 years building a company," she said, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "But I forgot to build a life. I forgot to be a person." The press leaned forward, sensing a story. "Recently, I lied to someone I love. I lied because I was afraid of being wanted for the wrong reasons. I've been hurt by people who saw my bank account instead of my heart." She paused, tears forming. "So I tested someone. I pretended to be someone I wasn't, and I hurt him deeply. I may never earn his forgiveness, but I want him to know this. With him, I wasn't CEO Diana Blake. I was just Diana. And that's who I want to be. The woman who fell in love with a man who saw past everything to the person underneath." The press erupted with questions, but Diana walked away without answering. The clip went viral within hours. Ethan saw it on the TV at the rehabilitation center during his lunch break. His patients, several of whom used wheelchairs, were discussing it. Carol, a woman who'd been paralyzed in a diving accident 5 years ago, spoke up. "She messed up. Big time. But I kind of get it." Ethan looked at her, surprised. "How can you get it?" "She used a wheelchair like a prop," Carol nodded. "She did. And that was wrong. But people treat us differently, Ethan. You know that. Sometimes you want to test if someone's kindness is real or just performative. She shouldn't have lied about being disabled, but I understand the fear of being seen for the wrong reasons." Another patient agreed. "We all want to be loved for who we are, not what we are. She just went about it the wrong way." That evening, Ethan found himself standing outside Diana's apartment. He didn't know why he'd come, only that he couldn't stay away. When she answered the door, her eyes were swollen from days of crying. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen. "You hurt me," he said quietly, deeply. Diana's voice broke. "I know. I'm so sorry. I know sorry isn't enough. But I am. I'm so sorry." Ethan stepped inside. "My mother would have been furious at what you did." Diana nodded, tears falling. "I know. I deserve her fury. I deserve yours." Ethan's voice softened. "But she also would have understood the loneliness. She felt invisible sometimes too. People would talk over her, ignore her, treat her like she wasn't there. She told me once that sometimes she wanted to take off the wheelchair just to see if people would finally see her." Diana looked up, hope flickering in her devastated eyes. "I can't forgive you yet," Ethan said honestly, "but I want to try." Diana's breath caught. "Why? After everything, why would you even try?" Ethan's voice was raw. "Because when I close my eyes I see you, not the CEO, not the lie, just you, laughing at my terrible jokes, challenging my opinions about physical therapy approaches, being vulnerable when you talked about losing your father. That woman, is she real?" Diana stepped closer. "Yes, that's who I am when I'm with you. When I'm not performing or protecting myself, that's the real me." Ethan studied her face, then introduced me to her properly. "No wheelchairs, no lies, no fake names. Just Diana. Can you do that?" Diana nodded through her tears. "Yes, I can do that. I want to do that." They started over, honestly this time. Diana stepped back from her CEO role, promoting a deserving executive to take over daily operations. She became a consultant, finally finding work-life balance she'd never allowed herself. Ethan taught her about his world, about disability advocacy, about the real challenges his patients faced. Diana funded accessible technology development through Blake Industries and volunteered at his rehab center. The hardest part was apologizing personally to Ethan's patients for her deception. Most forgave her, seeing her genuine remorse. Some didn't, and Diana accepted that. She'd earned their anger. Carol became a friend, teaching Diana about real accessibility challenges and calling her out when she slipped into performative allyship. 6 months later, Diana and Ethan stood in the community park where they'd met. "I come here sometimes," Diana admitted, "to remember where I made the worst decision of my life." Ethan smiled. "And the best?" Diana looked confused. "Best? Meeting me," Ethan said, pulling a small box from his pocket. He opened it to reveal a simple ring, elegant but not extravagant. "Marry me. Not CEO Diana, not pretend Anna, just you, Diana. The woman who makes terrible business puns and cries at animal videos. The woman who's learning to be honest even when it's terrifying. Just you." Diana was crying but smiling through the tears. Yes, God, yes. Their wedding was small. Ethan's rehab center patients attended, many of them having become Diana's friends. Carol was Diana's bridesmaid, rolling down the aisle with fierce pride. Diana's vow made everyone cry. "I lied to find love, but you taught me that love only exists in truth." Ethan's vow was equally powerful. "You saw my kindness as worth testing. I saw your heart as worth fighting for." A year later, Diana and Ethan ran a foundation together. It helped people with disabilities find meaningful employment and ensured workplaces were truly accessible. But it also helped CEOs and successful people find work-life balance, teaching them that achievement without humanity is just expensive loneliness. Diana spoke at events about her deception, never hiding from her mistake, using it to help others understand the difference between testing people and trusting them. "I pretended to be paralyzed to find true love. It was wrong. It was hurtful. It was born from pain but caused more pain. When Ethan discovered the truth, I thought I'd lost everything, but I'd actually found something I'd been missing, the courage to be honest." He didn't fall in love with CEO Diana or with Anna in a wheelchair. He fell in love with the person I became when I stopped performing. The woman who laughed freely, who admitted fears, who asked for help. My deception was cruel, but it taught me that love isn't about hiding who you are. It's about finding someone who makes hiding unnecessary. I faked a disability to test if someone could love me without my success. What I learned was devastating and beautiful. Real love sees through every pretense, forgives the worst mistakes, and demands only one thing in return, the truth of who you are. Sometimes, the lies we tell reveal the truths we're desperate to hide, and sometimes, the person who catches us lying is the one who teaches us how to finally be real. What did you think of Diana and Ethan's story? Rate it from 0 to 10 inches the comments. And if this story made you think about honesty, forgiveness, and the masks we wear, subscribe to Love is Kindness, like this video, share it, and comment where you're watching from. Sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is ourselves. Thank you for watching.